Welcome to the recipe experience. Today we are making English muffins from scratch, y'all. Today's food costs are completely out of control. Just look at how much 6 English muffins cost at my local grocery store. I'm not saying they don't go on sale because they do, but this is the regular price. That's not saying nothing about the 13 ingredients that are in this store product. Well, this recipe is easy to make and it only has 6 simple ingredients and it whips up in no time. So let's get to it. For this recipe, I will be using the stand mixer, but you can make these using a hand mixer and you can even make them without a mixer. So to the bowl, we want to add the water and honey. Here's a quick tip. When measuring honey, instead of squeezing or pouring the honey directly from the container into the bowl without measuring, just spray a little cooking oil into your measuring container because this will make the honey slide out easier. You'll have much less of a sticky mess to clean up at the end. Stir the honey into the water to dissolve it. Next, add your yeast. The honey will feed the yeast. Now, if your yeast is active, it will start to foam up. This yeast began to foam up very quickly. And a quick side note, this yeast is kept in its original container, which is zipped in a Ziploc bag in the crisper drawer of my refrigerator. Don't keep your yeast in the cabinets, especially if you are buying yeast in bulk. This is a 1-pound bag of yeast that I use. And just so you can see here, the best before date on this yeast is January 2024. It was purchased in 2022. So here we are 3 years plus later, and it's still full of life. This yeast is foaming nicely, so we are going to let it sit for 5 minutes. Depending on the temperature of your kitchen, it can take up to 15 minutes before it blooms. So in this case, our kitchen is nice and warm, so 5 minutes was all we needed. It's hard to see from the camera, but especially in the middle there, it has really bloomed well and is very, very foamy. Into this mixture, we are going to add melted butter, salt, and flour. Mix this on speed number 1 just to get things all incorporated. Be sure to scrape down the flour from the sides of the bowl and continue to mix. Be patient, as this can take a couple of minutes. Now we crank up the speed just a bit at the end. The recipe then calls for 2/3 cup of flour. However, I suggest you have extra flour on hand just in case your dough is a little wet, like this. In total, I added about an additional cup of flour, but it finally did come together. And this is what it should look like when the dough comes together. Now we're going to turn it out onto the counter and knead it just a little bit by hand. You want to put a little flour on your surface, place your dough ball onto the floured counter. I leave nothing to waste. And this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. I love my bench scraper. If you don't have one, grab one. They do sell them at the dollar store, I think. This dough is so soft. We're just going to knead it a little bit more. And I did add a bit of oil to my hands to keep the dough from sticking to me. You want to work your dough until it doesn't do that. FYI, I hate it when dough sticks to my hands. It feels so nasty. So after removing as much of the offending dough as possible, I oiled my hands again and went back to work. At this point, I want to take the time to thank you for visiting my channel, where I take cookbook recipes and make them for the first time with you, so you can determine if you want to try something new. So hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more of the recipe experience. I'm going to call this good. This bowl has been sprayed with oil, and we're going to cover it and let it sit until it doubles in size. To a baking tray, I added some parchment paper and sprinkled with a little cornmeal and set the tray aside. The dough has more than doubled in size. And if a dough could be beautiful, this would be it. Place the dough onto an unfloured surface. Punch it down and knead it a bit, not too much. We're not trying to start that whole kneading process over again, so just deflate it a bit. Using a bench scraper or a sharp knife, start to cut your dough pieces in half until you have your desired dough sizes. So I cut it in half, then I cut that half in half, then I cut those halves in halves. You get the picture. Then with oiled hands, begin to shape your dough into smooth round balls. Flatten them out a bit and place them onto your parchment paper. This dough rolling technique almost always gives you a beautiful, smooth, round dough ball. As you can see, I take the dough and stretch, pull, and tuck before I roll it. I don't know why it works, but it does. Keep working until all of your dough is prepped and on the parchment lined tray. Like this. Then take a dish towel and cover the tray. You want to let this sit for 20 minutes. "20 minutes later, the dough is rested and slightly risen. Take some cornmeal and lightly dust the tops of the muffins. Next time, I think I'll do them slightly larger, like that one. Lightly grease your pan and heat it over medium heat. I'm using beef tallow as my oil, but you can use what you like. My stove is on 3 out of 10, just as a reference. I am using a cast iron skillet because it holds heat well. And as you can see, it is very lightly greased. This dough is so soft, so take your time moving them from the parchment to the pan. Too much handling and you risk breaking the air bubbles that have formed inside of the muffin, and that's what's going to give you a nooks and crannies. So since we like our nooks and crannies, we like to, like that butter to get in there and melt all nicely. Just be gentle as you put these in the pan. And I cover the pan, and you just want to let them cook for a while. And every couple minutes, you want to flip them. I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but they are looking slightly drier. And as I flip them over, you can see them just starting to brown. Looks good. Now, what I learned from this experience is to flip them often. It will take a little time, but if you, let's say, go and do other things in the kitchen for 5 minutes, the English muffins, they won't be burned, but they will be a little too toasty on one side. Ask me how I know. Did we eat them all? Yep. Try and fight the natural inclination to push the muffins down. Oftentimes people, when they fry things on the stove, they'll put it in the pan, flip it over, and want to press down on it. Don't do that. Again, you don't want to destroy your nooks and crannies. So just gently flip them over, just keep flipping until they're done. Well, take a look-see. They are beautifully browned. And note that sizzling that's in the bottom left, of the pan. That's from a bit of water that just fell into the pan from me removing it. Now, here, I did check the internal temperature just to make sure they're done, since this is my first time making them. And the thermometer registered 205 degrees. Perfect. So we'll remove them and set them on a plate, let them rest, and move on to the next batch. Here are our English muffins. As with the store muffins, I am going to use a fork to open them. And here is my actual response. Take a listen.
Look at that, y'all. That's straight up English muffin. You can't tell me nothing. I can make an English muffin. Wow. So I'm actually going to treat this like a regular English muffin. Pop it in the toaster real quick. It's very soft inside. Pop it in the toaster real quick just to get it heated up a little bit. Lightly toasted. A bit of milk. Bit. Oh, I have some fancy jellies too up in the cabinet. Oh, I'm excited. I'm gonna use my fancy jellies next time. And then I made last year. I made orange marmalade and apple jelly. So I am so excited. Because although this took time, that's not a lie, took time, but with including water, it's 7 ingredients. That's including the cornmeal to make these English muffins. Now let's just take a taste. Good. Good. A little bit chewier to me. A little bit chewier than the traditional store-bought English muffin. That's fine. I could have toasted it a little bit longer, but again, that's fine. But overall, it's good. So if you have a hankering for English muffin, but don't have the money to go buy them, and you got no more time on your hands, try this recipe. Hopefully you'll like it too. Well, that's it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time in the kitchen for another recipe experience. God bless.